Right, so I started to make this video because there's quite a bit of interest in obviously the old leisure drive conversion. I've got a leisure drive van, it's a Type 25 or Type 3, whatever you call it, and I decided to take out the units last year and give it a good revamp. So in this video, I'm going to show you a few money saving tips as to how to vinyl the actual units yourself. This is quite a tedious task, but obviously it's expensive if you get it done professionally. So here's a little view of it last year. Obviously all the stuff's inside it. It's a bit of a mess. You can see like a standard leisure drive interior with a Zig unit. Lots and lots of different things. I'd already taken out a few parts, so it was pretty bare in places. Looking at the roof lining, I'd already started to rip some of that down. And also there are things in there from when we went on holiday last time, like a fishing rod at the top. Yeah, just a quick look around the van. Bit of a mess, a bit of a wiring nightmare as well. So one of the first things I decided to do was to take off the overhead storage cupboard. To do that, I had to rip it all off, I had to unscrew a few things, obviously taking the staples out using a screwdriver, and also once I'd worked my way along there, rip the whole of the carpeting off it, and then obviously working on to the next section. So upon closer inspection, I looked at it and I thought, well, there's a lot of panelling that's rough because obviously the plywood's come off. Some of the actual vinyl, the original vinyl, had come and peeled off. So if you were to put vinyl over this, it wouldn't have really worked so well. Right, so before you start spraying van parts, you should always do a test. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a quick test on my missus's cupboard fronts in the kitchen. Just to see whether it works, because it's a similar media that we're spraying onto. I'm going to make sure that I rub it down though as well with some of this. It's wet and dry P400, so gives it a bit of a key before you apply the paint, and obviously wash it off with water as well. It's very important to do that. We're going to give it a go. Okay. So I took the best care not to get any air bubbles in it, but there are a few. But there's not much you can do about that because I don't have the proper equipment to do it as such on a tighter budget. Right, so I'm now proceeding to spray the back side of the internal storage cupboard, and you'll notice I'm doing it in white. Why do you say white? The reason why is because it's a good reflector of light. So if I decide to put an interior light in there at some point, so when you open the door it lights up, it's going to bounce around the light inside that cupboard. Maybe a bit of a strange thing, and it's something I wanted to do for a test due to the water-based paint I'm using, mixing with water to try and get a bit more out of it, and it seemed to work really well. I did test it on the missus's cupboard fronts as well, and it worked really well because I've actually done the kitchen in it, and I'll probably show you a little video of that at the end. But no, works really well, sprays really well, and you can wash it out with the spray gun no problem. You can see them getting into all the crevices. The little cutouts are where the actual cupboard is, and the round cutouts are for the speakers that I'm going to mount in and show you installed at a later date. So this is a part that's quite interesting. Once I'd flattened down the surface using body filler, I'd smoothed it all up. On this particular one, I'd left on the actual vinyl underneath this, and I just did it as a bit of a test, and it seemed to work really well. What I got is some 3D graphite vinyl. It's like a black vinyl. It's actually textured and it's quite hard wearing and wipeable as well. It's not like normal vinyl where it's easily sort of makes indentations and things like that. You can put it on, and obviously you can put it nice and flat on the piece with minimal effort. You can add adhesive to it as well to make it stick even more, but I don't think it's, as long as you get like a clean surface, once you've sanded it down, you've filled all the cracks in the plywood and any discrepancies, you've actually sanded it down really smoothly and you've wiped it. It's very important to wipe it off with water. I didn't use any water whilst I was installing it because you can do that with vinyl, but it went on really well. You don't need to do that with this. Again, with a little bit of cost saving in mind, you can see I've put a shut line to the centre of the cupboard front. It's looking pretty cool at the moment because the colour's really nice, and it seems to go with the grey carpeting that I've already started on the van. So I thought it'd be a really nice addition. Some of the T5s are done in this as a standard conversion. I don't know if it's the same material, so don't quote me on it, but it's very close, and they're really expensive interiors to have fitted. And don't get me wrong, you do need quite a bit of skill to do this, and obviously I don't pretend to be an expert on things like this. I'm doing it for myself. But the end result's pretty good. Once it's stuck on, you can get a blade, and I tend to just use a knife blade. Obviously, in my hand, I don't need the handle part of it. You tend to get a better feel for it. You've got to be very careful. So obviously, put the blade in, drag it back, just along the blade along the edge of the woodwork, and then pull your vinyl away. As you can see, it's coming away really nicely there. Okay, so I've finished applying the vinyl now. I've put the speakers in as well at the same time, just to give you an indication of what it's going to look like. I've also put the front of the cupboard on as well, just to show you what it could potentially look like when it's finished. Obviously there's edging strips that still need to be put on there as well. It's not finished by a long shot, but have a look, see what you think. Right, so from the image you can see that I've got what I wanted to do, and I've got where I wanted to get. It looks pretty good for the fact it was cheap. I've obviously put a handle back in as well to open it, but I've sprayed that handle with BMW metallic silver. I can get the paint code if anyone wants it. But all in all, it looked really good, nice professional finish, and I was really chuffed with it. So taking all the edging strips off first so that we can replace them with like a rubber strip at a later date. And as you can see, there's still vinyl on the front where it's all cracked and everything. This is the rear cupboard that I'm just going to show you, and obviously the next video is going to be me ripping off the vinyl from the plywood. This has got to be done because if you leave it on underneath and you apply vinyl over this, with it being so old, if that vinyl application comes off, then the new vinyl that you put on won't stay over it. It's a bit of a painstaking thing to do, but obviously over time you'll get to peel it all off and eventually it'll all come off. It's a really hard thing to do actually, but it's worth it in the end, to be honest. You get a better finish when you put the vinyl back onto it. What I noticed as well is when I was taking the old vinyl off it, I actually noticed that a lot of the plywood was coming off with it because it was quite sticky, but obviously the plywood was quite old and dry, so it was just peeling it off. If you put vinyl straight over the top of that, you're going to get like creases in the vinyl. It's going to show through. So what I had to do, unfortunately, I had to get the old easy sand out and just fill it. Once this is applied, you can then flat it with some sandpaper to make it really smooth, so that we get a nice smooth finish for the vinyl to go onto. In the next clip, I'm just going to show you how to sand it down. My technique's like a circular motion, but I'd recommend to put something hard behind it, something like a block of wood, to get a really flat finish. But I was doing it really quickly and I seem to have got the effect that I needed. So when you're sanding it down, use about 120 grit first, which is sort of a rougher grade of sandpaper, and then work your way down to 1000, which is more like a wet and dry. That way you get a really good smooth finish on the piece at the front. But also folks, don't get put off by this because you don't always have to do it. You could take the stuff off and it would still be quite smooth underneath, but unfortunately this one's been on so long it's just really absolutely annihilated the plywood, so I've just had to do it. Yeah, just a little tip there. And when you've sanded it all down, just check it with your hand to see whether it's smooth. A really important thing as well is to make sure that you clean it off with some water, sort of a damp cloth as well after, to get all the dust off. So going a little bit off topic again, I promised to show you guys the kitchen using the white paint that I used earlier in the video, and it works really well and the missus is well chuffed. So thanks for watching.